Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Planet Film Network. Today, we're going to be talking Andor Episode 10, One Way Out. All right, guys. So, welcome back to the Planet Film Network. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
And I'm your other host, TJ Cornwell. And as Sean said, today we're going to be talking about the latest episode of Andor that came out last week, Wednesday, right? Wednesday. Episode 10, One Way Out. Let's just start off there. Sean, what did you think of the episode?
I thought that this episode was absolutely fantastic. I know I've been getting up my initial reactions, but in terms of full-fledged Andor reviews, we haven't done one in a couple of weeks just because of time. But every week, this is one of those shows, almost like House of the Dragon, where every single week you find yourself saying, is this the best episode of the series? And more than often, the answer is yes. And I feel like this one, same again. I would have said that last week's was the best episode we've seen so far. But then this one just ups the ante even more. It is the kind of crescendo payoff of this 3-episode arc of Narkina 5 at this prison complex, where we've really gotten to know, kind of see Cassian develop as somebody who could lead people, really gotten to know and explore the character of Keno Lloyd, played by Andy Serkis, which has been incredible. I'm sure we'll talk loads about him. And then, obviously, Luthen as well, having an incredible scene. But then, I feel like getting maybe lost in the noise or lost in the conversation is that incredible, speaking of House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, almost intrigue level, just pitch-perfect dialogue scene with Mon Mothma and Tay Kolma and the gangster. Just all of the, kind of backhanded talking, the intrigue, the fact that what's on the line for, this early stage of the rebellion is Mon Mothma having to maybe, marry out her daughter to this crime lord's son, I thought was fantastic. The amazing capper to that scene of all this, back and forth, rat-a-tat, like they have this great dialogue exchange. And then, at the end, she goes, no, I won't consider that at all. And he goes, well, that's the first untrue thing you've said. Like, I just thought that was incredible. And the fact that we just got just that one scene with Mon Mothma, but it carried so much weight because we're so invested in her story. I just thought that so much worked in this episode. And then again, the amazing Luthen, late night rendezvous scene I thought was absolutely incredible. But yeah, what did you think? What were some of your initial thoughts of this episode?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think every week the show gets better and better, and I think this might be probably my favorite episode so far, I want to say. Andy Serkis was absolutely fantastic in this episode. Same with Diego Luna. Had me tearing up a few times, honestly, because I
Same.
and I know a lot of people are saying, like, is this the best Star Wars show we've gotten so far? And I'm hesitant to say that yet, just because Mando has been so good. But I definitely think it's closing in. I think there isn't really that much of a gap. I think it's probably Mando, Andor, and then everything else at this point. But I think it definitely can cross that point. But just watching, I was like, this is exactly what Star Wars needs to be. This, we feel like the grit and dirtiness of the show, and just like the rebellion. Like, this is what it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be rebelling against this power that has been suppressing us for however many years, and we've had enough of it. And going into the last episode, then going into this episode, the whole realization that, like, oh, your sentence really doesn't mean anything because you're not leaving. So if you're here, you're gonna die here. And that's really scary to think about, and to see Andy Serkis kind of comes to term with that, considering I don't know how long he had been in there up to that point. They might have said it when he was like, because he's always just look forward to your job and you'll be out in whatever your sentence is. And then when he finds out at the end of the last episode that you don't get out, that like changes his whole like opinion on things. I thought that was the only scene that I kind of zoned out of, was the Mon Mothma scene. Like I
Mhm.
didn't like I was watching a review and they were like, "Oh yeah, like when the guy said he wants to marry his son to their daughter." And I was like, "Oh, when did he say that? I must completely missed that."
Mhm.
So I missed that, but yeah, like I don't know. This episode was fantastic. The score, the sound, the
Oh
just
yeah.
the music beats, like the music cues. That's something that this show I think has. I don't know. I think I like it more than Mando is the score. For
Yeah.
me personally, I think it's awesome every single episode, and they
Mhm.
put it in at the very precise, correct moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, this episode, I can't wait for next week. Like this episode was absolutely fantastic. Definitely, I think my favorite so far in the show.
Yeah, I think just going off the score, like you said, I think for me the difference comes down to, and I love, and I know you do too, the Ludwig Göransson's score
Yeah.
for Mando, is absolutely incredible. But I think what it comes down to is like Mando to me is a lot of like repeated themes, and emotional like swelling like Star Wars
Mm-hmm.
music. This is like a film score. Like it's I feel like
Mm-hmm.
there's all new music, developing music, different character music, different character tones and everything like that all throughout every single episode. Like and again, not to take anything away from Mando's score. I just think that Nicholas Bertel who did the score for Succession and a bunch of other stuff too, he's just so good at
Mm-hmm.
crafting these like orchestral pieces that in this, even though it is with an orchestra, it sometimes you get that percussion where it almost sounds like a rock synth score type thing,
Right.
like with some of the action that we got in this episode. Again, speaking of the action, we now have K2 in Rogue One, telling Jin and Andor to climb, Nimic telling Andor to climb with the ship and the Aldani heist, and then now we have Kino telling everyone to climb to get out. So it seems like Tony Gilroy likes this whole analogy of climb to get out of your situation. You have to climb up,
Mm-hmm.
to stop these people that are trying to hold you down. And I just think it all works for me. And, I never thought that I would be in the situation where when this show ends in 2 weeks, I am going to be as upset with the wait time on this as I am with
Mm-hmm.
House of Dragon. And I
Yeah.
never thought that that would be the case. Like, just, it is such high quality television. And really, I feel like I'm starting to feel the loss of the original plan being the 3 seasons, or even the original plan. People said it
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to be 5 seasons, 1 year per season. But I just cannot wait to get more of this show, and the fact that it's almost over is starting to sink in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, just absolutely incredible. But let's start diving into some of the specifics. So how did you kind of feel about some of the escape sequences, like with him trying to break the pipe so that he would flood the floor? Which I thought was genius because at first you're
Yeah.
not really sure what he's trying to do with the
Yep.
pipe. And
Yeah.
then, kind of the reveal that like Andor's kind of 3 steps ahead of the audience in that
Mm-hmm.
planning process. I thought was fantastic. But then how did you kind of feel about how all of it kind of all hell broke loose in this episode?
Yeah, I thought that was all really cool. Like you said, like I wasn't really sure why we were trying to cut the pipe.
Mm,
But as soon as he does it, and then we have that flood, and then in their mind they know they're going to turn the floors on, right?
yeah.
Like they know that that's what the reaction will be, and then I guess like the water kind of shorts it. Am I
Yeah.
correct in
I
saying
guess
that?
so.
Okay.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Because the one guy does die because he's really standing in he's standing in water.
Yeah.
But
He didn't
like
get on the table in time.
right, but Andy Serkis is standing there and
Yeah.
he is telling everybody else to get up on the tables, and then he doesn't get on. And
Mm,
then right when you think he's gonna die, he's like, oh my god, like I'm still alive.
yeah.
And then we have that awesome, like he just yells at them to climb, and like you
Mm,
said, they're climbing up on top of the thing. I thought that was all done really well. I felt the kind of I felt like the how scared I felt like all the guards were. They all seemed to be like, because like Andor said, he's like, they know that they don't have enough people here,
mm-hmm.
and if we can just get one little leg up, like we should be in business.
Yeah.
but it was just an awesome like jailbreak to see, just especially when they're like panning out and you see all the different corridors where people are running through with all the windows. Like you see all those people and it's like, damn, how many people are in here? Because we don't really have like a good number, I feel like, right? I could be wrong.
He says in this episode that there's 5,000 of them, but I don't know if that means 5,000 in the entire prison system or just 5,000 in that building. Because it's like there's different buildings.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what Kino says at least. But again, I don't know if that means just that building or the entire prison.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and then we just get this amazing build-up. And again, like you said, with the guards, I liked that shot that we have the guards kind of cowering in fear.
Yeah.
Specifically getting kind of that look at the guard that gave the whole introduction speech to Andor and was just like, relishing in his power and all this stuff. And then, now he's cowering in fear, just like letting them pass, basically. Because like you said, they know they don't have enough people to hold them back. And then I would say probably the most heartbreaking moment of the episode, or maybe the most heartbreaking moment of the entire series so far, of the Moses biblical kind of parallel here that is then paralleled again in Luthen's speech, which we'll talk about a little bit later, of this liberating these people, but then you can't go to the promised land yourself. That we get to the edge, the precipice of all the prisoners start jumping into the water. They know they're going to have to swim to the shore to survive. And then we get the great moment of Kino Lloyd saying, I can't swim. And the fact that he has he almost has a little bit of like a cynical smile when he says it. Like he's just like, all this and I can't even go. And then there's the extra heartbreak of, and that's the thing, a different show, Andor would have been the first one to jump off, and then we would have just been left with Kino being like, I can't swim. Oh, and then, but the fact that it almost looks like Andor is going to, do something, like he's gonna go and be like, grab him and be like, listen, man, I'll swim you, I'll carry you, type of thing. But then Andor gets knocked off into the water and then Kino's just left there, just basically watching all of these people go to freedom that he knows that he can't get to.
You have to wonder, I wonder what happened. What happens there?
I know, yeah. So how did you feel about that scene? What were your initial kind of emotions when you realized that Kino wasn't going to make it out? And then what do you think did happen to him?
No, it was really sad because, like you said, he did all this stuff and then he gets to the edge and it's like, oh man, I can't jump in that water, I can't swim, and I can't go back. So it's like, what, you kind of have to make a decision, I feel like. So I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up dying, unfortunately, just because I feel like, unless again, we didn't see him jump in, maybe somebody else convinced him.
Yeah.
Or something like that to jump in the water. Very, very, very big jump, as well as don't know how far away that was from land. Like, how far did they have to swim?
Yeah, it looked pretty far. And then also the end of it, with where is it here? There you go. The only two people we see running at the end are Andor and Melshi out of 5,000, if it is 5,000. And then we see some ships doing patrols over the water. So I don't know how many people made it out. Maybe, and I feel like that's maybe something we're never going to get the answer to. Of, from here on out, the only two people that really matter from the prison is going to be Andor and Melshi. So I feel like we maybe just won't even ever get the answer of how many people really made it out of the prison. But yeah, I thought just an absolutely incredible scene. The unbroken action of I think it was 16 minutes of just purely the prison escape, which just was such an amazing payoff. I love these arc style episodes that they're doing. We've talked many times on the channel about the season 7 of the Clone Wars arc with the Pike Syndicate and Ahsoka and everything, about how one of those episodes was just kind of literally running in circles and just kind of landed us back where we were. Right. That is something that is definitely not happening in this show. every single episode, even the middle episode of the arcs, which, you could say has the most opportunity to be a filler type episode. Or even something like episode, episode 7, right, where it's kind of that in-between episode where he's recovering from the Aldani heist, he goes to see Marva, then he gets arrested, all that stuff. That's not attached to any one arc. It's almost kind of a bridge episode, but even that is not filler, because so much important material and important story beats happen in that episode. Like, there's just not a single wasted second or line of dialogue in this show. And I think that it just keeps showing that over and over again. But let's go ahead and let's end on the amazing scene between who we now know as Lonnie, who we have seen since the very beginning of this show, or I should say episode 4, once we got off of Ferrix. Working at the ISB, we get the reveal that he actually is a double agent, which I think was fantastic and will just absolutely, quadruple the rewatch value on this season to then go back and see everything that Lonnie has done up to this point and see it in a whole new light. But then we see this meeting with Lonnie and Luthen in the deep, deep bowels of Coruscant. Just again, one of the most visually, amazing sequences I think we've seen in a Star Wars series so far. Just the lighting, Luthen, standing there in this black, like, cloak, jacket type thing in the rain. Just, like, these amazing, hardcore images that are so intrinsically Star Wars, but also super, super cool and epic and fit kind of that Tony Gilroy vibe. But again, I think this scene really boils mainly down to just that incredible, incredible speech that he gives, where Lonnie is saying, now that I have a daughter, I want to get out of this life. I've sacrificed too much. You don't respect my sacrifice. What have you sacrificed? And then Luthen just launches into this, tirade of that, he's been practicing in the mirror for years. Just what have I sacrificed? And then lays it all out. And again, the thematic elements of this episode, it mirrors exactly what happened with Kino. He says, I burn myself for a sunrise I will never see. Like, that is what the theme of this episode really is the people that make the better world can sometimes not be a part of it. And I just thought that was incredible. But what did you think of this whole scene, how it unfolded, and then, of course, Stellan Skarsgård's amazing performance in this scene and everything like that?
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. Just starting off with that elevator and that little kind of Bluetooth sort of phone call, which I'm pretty sure that what they used for that was it looked like a Beats Pro wireless earbud.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, I have that, which I thought was funny. But no, like that whole speech, I thought them going back and forth on, what have you sacrificed or what have I sacrificed? What's his name again? I forget it.
Lonnie.
Yeah, Lonnie's like, I have a kid and I have a daughter, and I can't be, I can't keep messing around like this, or else I'm most likely gonna die, because the Empire's gonna find out and they're gonna take me. And then, we have Stellan on the other hand over here telling Lonnie what he's sacrificed. And while he's not wrong, at the same time he's also chosen to do this. So when you choose to do something, there's something like this, like rebelling against this big power, there's inherently going to be sacrifices, and I think you should probably know that. Not to say that he hasn't sacrificed, but to say that him starting this and then him kind of pulling Lonnie in and recruiting, they're kind of different, I would say. More is because when you start something like this, what the consequences are. Maybe Lonnie didn't really quite understand that especially if you're getting pulled into more. That's the other thing. Yeah. As Luthen is requesting more and more from Lonnie, that puts more and more pressure on Lonnie.
And he's just getting pulled deeper and deeper into the ISB. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think that those are kind of two different sides of it. But like you said, like that speech or that whole thing that he went on was awesome. And you could, like you said, could definitely tell that he was practicing it for multiple months before he had to say it.
Yeah. And also I like too the elements that we find out of that the guy that Luthen was going to Saw to work with, Anto Krieger, who we find out is a leader of a partisan rebellion front, that in order to keep Lonnie safe, basically, Lonnie's like, we have to warn them because they're going to be slaughtered. It's 50 men that are going to be on this mission that Krieger's trying to pull off. Warn them, please. And Luthen is like, well, listen, if we warn them, the ISB is going to know that somebody warned them. We can't do that. Like, if we warn them, yes, we might be able to save their lives, but it's going to be a far greater cost to the rebellion because then the ISB will know somehow information is getting out and we can't risk that. And I just thought, like, all that stuff was just so incredibly done. The intricacies of this story and of the dialogue between all these characters and these new relationships that we're finding, like last week, we found out that Vel is Mon Mothma's cousin. This week, we find out that Lonnie is a secret double agent who's been working with Luthen for years. Like, I just love that even when we think we maybe have stuff figured out, there's this new role. Even look at the beginning of the season. We thought, Partagas is going to be, the big bad of the ISB that we're used to. And then Yularen shows up, and now, and also, that was another quick element of this episode as well, was seeing Partagas with Dedra trying to make, a couple more moves, basically, to kind of set the ISB up, set the stage for them up for how they're going to be going into the finale, or the next two episodes, and then the finale. But yeah, just absolutely incredible episode for me. I think this show is easily... I think the show is my favorite of the Star Wars series so far, the live action stuff. Not to measure it up to like Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff, but just in terms of the live action Disney Plus stuff, I think probably this is my favorite. Only because it's two very different things. It's like, do you want the steak dinner of Andor, or do you want the incredible? Do you want like the KFC famous bowl of Mandalorian? You know what I mean? It's like they're doing two very different things, and I think they're both doing them fantastic. But I agree with you. I think that this is an amazing color for Star Wars to explore in this series. Just the depth and the darkness and everything that I feel like you just can't go into in something like Mando, because Mando is way more of a family show. But yeah, just absolutely incredible for me. Andy Serkis, I honestly think probably deserves a nomination for Best Supporting Actor or Best Guest Actor, whatever it would qualify into. Just I think honestly some of his absolute best work of his entire career. I put this right up there with like his performance as Alfred earlier this year with that incredible scene in the Batman. Andy Serkis he's just crushing it. But yeah, what are some of your wrap up thoughts or anything last you want to say, and then before we close out for the Andor review?
I echo everything you said. I think Andy Serkis probably definitely deserves some sort of nomination, whatever that may be, in whatever category. But yeah, I think by the end of the season, I might have to have this take over Mando for me. It's just so good, and I look forward to, like, Mandalorian. I looked forward to every single episode that was after, but this show's just, I don't know, it seems different. It hits different for some reason. And yeah, I can't wait to see what these last two episodes will have, and then whatever we have coming in season 2.
Absolutely, couldn't agree with you more. I hope maybe there's hope for Kino Loy to pop back up somewhere in season 2 or in some animated thing down the line. I would love to explore more of that character, but I think in terms of this season, at least, I think that's just the closed book on him. I think Tony Gilroy's going to leave it open to interpretation to purposely leave it open to interpretation. So let us know, what do you think happened to Kino Loy? Do you think that he, led the rest of the prison revolt, took over the prison? Maybe the prison is a ship. Maybe he flew it out of there. Maybe he found a TIE fighter lying around.
Yeah, maybe.
Let us know, what do you think happened to Kino Loy in the comments down below. And while you're down there, go ahead and hit subscribe and let us know what you thought of episode 10 of Andor. Let us know, were we right? Were we wrong? Did you like this? Is this show better for you than Mando? Let us know that and more down below. That'll do it for me. Make sure to go ahead and follow us also at the official PFN on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
I'm TJ Cornwell. Thank you for watching. Check out the channel for other reviews, other Andor reviews, as well as movie reviews. And we will see you next time.